This is the fifth one and the last one, the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy. Now, as we said last week, we read the Torah and we completed it yesterday. On Shabbat, of Matot Mas'ei, we completed the reading of the Torah because the book of Devarim is Mishneh Torah. What do I mean Mishneh Torah? The repetition of the Torah, it's like, if we read it, it says, Ele advarim asher diber Moshe. These are the words that Moshe spoke to the people of Israel. And it was on the 40th year after the Exodus, on the 11th month, Be'echad L'chodesh, on the first day of the month. We know that Moses, he left this world on the 7th of Adar, so it was 6 weeks. So, 6 weeks. During these 6 weeks, from the first day of Shvat till the 7th of Adar, it's around 6 weeks, and that is what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying during these 6 weeks. So he's basically repeating the Torah. He's repeating the first 4 books. This is the repetition. So as we said last week, for us, every year we're using these words of those chapters of the book of Deuteronomy, or Devarim. We use it as our tool in order to prepare ourselves towards Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the high holidays, Sukkot, and Simchat Torah, because we're basically, most of the year is over, and we are right now starting to prepare ourselves to, the business plan for the next year. So what does it take? And this is how we go into it. So, אלה הדברים אשר דיבר משה אל כל ישראל בעבר הירדן. So, these are the words that Moses spoke to Am Israel, the nation of Israel, the children of Israel in the desert. Now, for us, what does that mean? That this parasha comes always before the 9th of Av. Always the week before the 9th of Av. This Shabbat is always the Shabbat before the 9th of Av, which means that everything is geared towards understanding what we basically started a few weeks ago when we said that this is the 3 weeks period, and during the 3 weeks period, this is when people have to deal with judgments. These are the 3 weeks between the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av, dealing with judgments. So here is the dealing with the judgment. And what Moses is reminding us over here, according to Rabbi Zechariah, is basically the judgments that we have to overcome. Now, how do we see it? So Rabbi Zechariah is saying, by the way, if you see in the Zohar itself, there's no Zohar for the Parashat Devarim, no Zohar for the book of Deuteronomy, for the Parasha of Devarim, no Zohar. Why? These weeks are weeks with so much judgment, everything is concealed. Still, we're going to find some clues, and we're using Rabbi Zechariah and some other Kabbalists in order to understand what's in it for us. So first of all, it says, Ele advarim, these are the words that Moses spoke to Israel. And then it says, Be'ever HaYarden, I'm reading in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 1. Across the Jordan, and then it says, Bamidbar, in the desert, Ba'arava, in the prairie, Mosuf, in front of the Red Sea, Suf, Bein Paran uven Tofel, Paran and Tofel, this is in the Negev, Velavan v'Chatzerot v'Dizav, this is in the Sinai Peninsula. So, can you make up your mind, where was it? We know it was just on the Jordan River, just before crossing the Jordan into the Promised Land. So why mentioning all of these places? And then it says on the second verse, verse 2, 11 yom Chorev, 11 days from Chorev. Chorev is another name of Mount Sinai. However, this is not what Rabbi Zechariah is saying. What Rabbi Zechariah is saying, that Moses is basically placing in front of us the summary of what a human life is about. A human life is about, as we said, but now we have to concentrate it, because these are the days of the 3 weeks. A human life is about what it says, 11 days from Chorev. Rabbi Zaklura is saying Chorev can be read as Mount Sinai, but Chorev in this case has a different meaning. Chorev, it's written Chet Reish Bet. Chet Reish Bet means also Charev, which means destruction. Let me explain it. When we study Kabbalah, we learn that when God created the universe, it was created perfect. Everything was perfect. However, there was one problem. What was the problem? The problem was that it was perfect. And we were created in the image of God. And how do you feel when you are in a place that is perfect? You know, the first 5 minutes, maybe 5 hours, you're very happy. Maybe 5 days, you're very happy. And after a while, you start to feel uncomfortable. If everything is perfect, there's no need for me. I feel useless. And because we were created in the image of God, we had the need to perfect. Not to be in a perfect state, but to perfect. So when everything is perfect, we feel useless, or we feel like, my job is over. But when you feel that things are messed up and you can make them perfect, then you feel useful. And when the person feels useful, that's another story. So, therefore, the world, after it was created in the perfect state, in the endless perfect state, endless means no boundaries, everything was perfect. Everything had to be annihilated, destroyed in a way so we can perfect it. So that's why Rabbi Zaklura is saying that Moses is saying, when he mentioned the word Chorev, 11 days from Chorev, it means this so many steps after the destruction of the perfection. Why was there a destruction of the perfection? So we can feel that we create perfection out of a mess. That is a need, a birthright need of a person. Because without making a difference, how do you feel about your life? It's not that easy to make a difference, but it's not that hard either. Which means there's so many people that need a word, a smile, an attention. It's so easy to give. Charity does not have to be millions of dollars. It can be, charity can be a smile. Asking, how are you today? I really thought about you, and I really want to know how are you because I care for you. Just that could be bigger than $1 million charity. So everybody, whatever you have, use that for your own daily charity, right? So when we're speaking about that, so we learned that the Creator basically messed up the world so we can perfect it and feel useful. Now, the problem was that in the beginning it was not messed up that much. We're talking about the Garden of Eden, and Adam and Eve had that opportunity to perfect the universe. It was not that messed up. However, they messed it up even more. Maybe it was not good enough, making a difference. So, and then came the sin of Adam. And then Rabbi Zaklura is explaining to us, what did the sin of Adam? Some Kabbalists are explaining it even in the deeper way so we can understand it. What was the sin of Adam and how it's connected to our days? And the answer is the sin of Adam created death, created mess, created chaos, created confusion and pain and sorrow and misery. That's what it did. It created more than everything. It created that thing that we call judgment. Judgment. And judgment, that negative energy, is responsible. As we said in previous weeks, there are 320 judgments that are responsible for every kind of negativity, stress, pain, sorrow, and misery that a man and a human being can feel and experience. However, we added after that also, voluntarily, we added some more pain and negativity, but everything is derived from the major 320 judgments, as we spoke about it in the last few weeks' parashot. However, there's another thing that we have to remember. Today, in our world, we know when a government has a big project, a very big project, let's say building a new neighborhood, building a new highway for hundreds of miles, or anything of that such, or let's say building a hospital, a big one. What you know that if the government will do that, that's never going to happen. So many committees and regulations, bureaucracy and stuff like this, and nobody is motivated enough. If you are a government officer, they're not that much driven, to make that happen. So what the governments are doing right now, they outsource the project into different contractors. So let's say there's a road hundreds or thousands of miles long, so you divide the road into sections and you bid the different sections into different companies. And what happens is that you have a whole lot of contractors building the project, and each one of them has the motivation to finish it on time in order to get the bonus or whatever, to get the money. So people need some fuel, and money is a fuel. People look for gain. And a person that works without a gain, something is missing about that person. Most people, they need the gain. They need a gain. Now, after we got that, then what we can explain now, that after the sin of Adam, and after the sin of Adam generated 320 judgments, that was a big project. So God outsourced it to different contractors. Every contractor is one human being that has one bid, one contract, and that's you. You have your own contract. How do you know what is my job? How do I know what is my job in this universe? And that's very simple. The judgments that you face, the pain, the misery, the upset, the discomfort, the imperfection, the destruction that you face, mentally, physically, whatever, this is your contract. So, what do you have to do? As a human being, you have to focus on being the best contractor in order to finish your own contract. Why? Because if you don't do that, nobody else will do it for you. So, how do you do that? So when something negative is happening, or something that you think is negative is happening, when pain, misfortune, or any kind of obstacle come your way, you have to use it professionally. Let's say, I'll give you an example. You have a very, very expensive pair of shoes that you really, really care for. Okay? Because it costs you a lot of money and you love that pair of shoes and it's very comfortable and it looks good and you can go with it to certain places and so on and so forth. It's very, very special for you. And you go to that professional. And as you come to the professional, you present them with your problem, they start to pull their hair out. Wow, this is terrible. I never seen something so terrible. And they scream and they yell and they're upset about it. How do you look at them? Hello? I'm paying you to fix it. If you think it's that terrible, I'll look for somebody else. What do you expect from a professional? To look at it and say, you know what? This is really challenging. Leave it here for overnight, I'll sleep on it. In the morning, I'll look at it, it looks very challenging, but let me try out. I'll call you tomorrow noon if I can make it. That's what you expect from a professional, right? Same thing. When we face a challenge, remember, we are the professional. God sees us as the professional who's supposed to fix that judgment. So when we experience a judgment, a negativity, an obstacle, anything that is not perfect state of existence, how do we suppose to react? Like that professional. Looking at it, says like, wow, this is a challenge. Let me sleep on it. Let me walk it out. I'll know by this morning. You know what? You don't have to sleep on it, because if you are facing it, means that's your job. And King Solomon says in Proverbs, Kol ma shebiyadcha la'asot bekochacha aseh. Whatever is at your hand to do it with your own might, because that's your job. Okay? You're upset about it? That's also part of your job. Get over with this. And do it. Make it happen. And remember one thing, if you don't do that, who else is going to do it? Nobody will do it. You'll have to do it. So you better do it right. Earlier than later, that's better. But later is also better than never. If we understand that, this is what Moses is facing us with. Judgments, negativity, imperfection, obstacles. That's our job. We have it, we face it, and that's how you make yourself useful. Now, getting upset about it, this is not professional. Getting scared about this is not professional. If the light, the Creator gave it and put it on your just table, that means that you are supposed and you have the power and the ability to fix it. And all Kabbalists explain. You just have to make the effort. Logically, I have no idea I'm going to solve it. That's a challenge. See it as a challenge. See it as an opportunity. See it as an opportunity to grow. And if you see it and logically you cannot find a way to solve it, give yourself some time. Make the effort. And as the Kabbalists are saying, you make the effort from below, they will help you from above. Who's going to help me from above? You name it. Angels, higher souls, the Creator Himself. You just have to show that you want to. You just have to show. How do you show that you want to? You make the effort. You make the effort even when you have no idea what to do. But when you put the effort, the answer will come. That's your job. So being upset when we face crisis, this is not professional. And we are supposed to be professionals. What if I don't behave as a professional? You know what? You get another chance. What if you mess it up this time? You have another chance. Another lifetime and another lifetime, another chance, then we do it right. So we are God's contractors. And we have to do the job, wanting it or not wanting it, consciously or subconsciously. We have to do it. And you know what? When we do that, then we really experience what does it mean fulfillment. Because the moment you transform the judgments, this is facing your calling. This is getting a meaning to life. Transforming darkness into light and bitterness into sweet. That's what life is about. So that's why the Kabbalist, the Rabbi Ezekiel is saying, when we're talking about 11 days from Chorev is the destruction of the perfection, so we can perfect it. Derech HaSeir, through Mount Seir. Mount Seir is a symbol of Edom, judgments. Ad Kadesh Barnea, till you make everything Kadesh, holy. Till you make it holy. So this is what the whole story is about, in a nutshell. And if we just remind ourselves again and again and again, we might be able to do it right. Just saying, there's no another option. Failure is not an option. A loss is not an option. Retreat in the battlefield is not an option. You have to face it again and again and again. So, we got it. Now, how do we do that? So, Or Chaim HaKadosh Rabbi Chaim Ben Atar, he says, all of these places, Moses didn't speak from these places, but he did. He says, what I'm giving you what does it mean to be a spiritual professional person. To be a spiritual professional person, you have to go to those stages. We went in the desert. He says, Ever Hayarden, across the river, Now Moses is speaking for 6 weeks. After 40 years, you just see the Holy Land with your eyes. And you say, Moses, finish your speech. We want to move in. Finally, we can move. We want to cross the river Jordan. The first trait says, Orach Chaim HaKadosh Rabbi Chaim ben Adar, patience. Patience. Don't jump. You have to understand that being a professional is understanding there's a process. There's a time for everything. There's a time for preparing. There's a time for attacking. And there's a time for winning. Okay? So that's the first thing. Cross the Jordan. Bamidbar, the desert. Bamidbar is about a desert. And the Kabbalists explain what is a desert. A desert is a place with no boundaries. Let's say you're in a city. You want to go straight. You bump into a wall, into a sign saying no entry, or sooner or later you're going to go to somewhere you have to go around. In the desert, you don't have to go around. You just go straight. There's nothing there. What a freedom. How many people go to the desert just to feel free? You can go right, left, diagonally, you get any way. Climb up, climb back. There's nobody to say, no, that's private property. That's the real desert. So a person that feels like a desert, it's a message of humility, which means freedom and humility. Humility, what does it mean? Being humble. Not being humiliated, by being humble. Real humble people, you can't humiliate them. They won't even think that that's what you're trying to do. They think you have a problem, they want to help you. Right? Because they have no boundaries. They know that you're when somebody is trying to humiliate me, says Rav Ashlag, why would somebody try to hurt me? Unless he's hurt. So if I'm really humble, I will realize that person is hurt. I won't take it personally. I will try to, give him a hand. How can I help you? It looks like you're in distress. Stressed out. What happened? Somebody told you something. Somebody took away something. You're missing something. What can I do for you? So that's in the desert. When you are making yourself a desert, you never think that somebody has something against you. You really realize, in deserts, there are no walls. Everything is exposed. So when you look at the person, when you're really humble, how do you know you're humble? You don't see it personally. You see his pain. You see his problem. You see that he has a problem. Instead of making it your own problem. Oh, you're a trespasser. No trespassing in the desert. Because nothing is yours. Nothing is yours. You want to pass by? Okay, pass by. I'll move away. It's not mine. It's a desert. Right? This is something we really have to work on. So the next word is Ba'arava. Translated into the prairie. Ba says, Rabbi Chaim ben Adar, Arava comes from the word, is the same letters, Areva. Pleasant. How do you know the person is in the right place? He's pleasant. Which means, when he sees that you have a problem, because you try to attack him and he's trying to attack you, and you don't feel like, he's a trespasser, but you don't, even when you tell him, hello, why are you doing that? You do it in a pleasant way. You're not reacting. You're not blaming. You don't feel like a victim and you're trying to make him feel sorry about what he did. You just, talk to him from a place of pleasant, which means, I realize you have some issues, and you say it in a way that you hand out help. You just reach out for giving you help, that person help. That was Ba'arava. So this way, the whole thing goes forward, which means you are with no judgments. That's how you know you're reaching your destination. But if you have judgments and you don't feel like a desert, and you don't have the patience to wait till Moses is finishing or whatever process has to go through, and when somebody bothers you, you cannot say it in a pleasant way. Hello, you're stepping on my foot. Do you have maybe another place to stand on? Maybe you want to stand over there so it's not so painful for me. If you can't say it in a pleasant way, it means that you are facing what? Your own judgment. And when we face our own judgment, it means that we have to fix it. But that person is not right. So he's not right, nobody is right. We're not here to be right. And if he's not right, so he's not right. So why are you so upset? When you are upset that he's not right, that makes you right? Of course not. But it's not pleasant, it means it's judgment. And if you understand that judgment, judgment means you have a problem that you did not fix. Yeah, but he's wrong. Yes, he's wrong, but why are you upset? If you're upset, that's your own. That's part of your contract, not his contract. So yes, he's supposed to fix what he's doing. Yeah, but you are supposed right now to fix what you're doing. And you know what? Before you fix what you're doing, you can't go and help him to fix what he's doing because you're going to just annoy him. Let's say you're doing something and you have difficulties. And then somebody comes to you and says like, you're doing it wrong. What happens to you? You shut down. You shut down. You can't listen to that person. You know what? Give me a break. Go somewhere and let me fix it, do it by myself. I don't need your help. Why? Because you aggravate me. Okay? You want to really reach out and help somebody? You cannot come from a place of aggravation. Why? Because people get upset when somebody tries to add their aggravation on your own aggravation. Okay? If you're a desert and somebody comes with aggravation, okay, how do you know you are in a level of tikkun that his aggravation does not aggravate you? So you don't see him as a trespasser, you see him somebody in need. Says, oh, hello, I can help you. What's going on? You look like you're lost, you're stressed out. No, you're there. I don't understand how, I want to help you. Help me with that. And when you're talking in a pleasant way, people are willing to listen. So that's why Rav Ashlag is saying, why is it that we are surrounded with people all the time? Because people are our best litmus paper to show that we have a job to do. They annoy us, they awaken jealousy, they awaken anger, they awaken all kinds of emotions. They're very good at that. But all of these emotions, we have to take responsibility for these emotions. Because if or when I'm already complete, that doesn't awaken any painful emotion. So it means that with this issue, I'm done. How do you know it? There was a person that every time that person comes and gives you any kind of a remark, judgment of his own, whatever, you get upset. Now you do a real good job about your spirituality. How do you know you did a good job? That person comes, his behavior didn't change, but your reaction did change. How does it feel? That he's not annoying anymore. Freedom. Freedom. Wow. He doesn't annoy you anymore. You know what happens at that moment? You see that person the first time. Because before that, every time he annoyed you, you didn't see the person. You focused on the annoyance and the aggravation that you experienced. Now you don't have the aggravation. You don't have walls. You're in the desert. You're free. You're not afraid he's going to, take anything from you. What do you want to take? A stone? A leaf? What do you want to take? Take. It's not mine. It's everybody's. That's a desert. Right? You can't take the desert home. Okay? So, that's a very important thing. So in Parashat Devarim, we have to really focus that all the judgments are coming right now, especially the first 9 days of the month of Av, the month of Leo. Excuse me. As we said, that if the first part of the 3 weeks is judgments, now it's a higher gear. So tonight, Sunday night, we're starting, it's Rosh Chodesh of Av, and that means the month of Leo is starting, and the first 9 days of the month of Leo are really critically troublesome. That's why we have to keep low and be more aware of the judgments when they come in. And when they come in, don't get aggravated. Don't get aggravated. Instead of that, realize that's my job. And if you want to be a professional in doing God's work, identify the problem like a professional, watch it, sleep on it, analyze it, and say, I have the ability to make it and I have to do it. Ask for help. There's always help. If you just want it, they will help you. Whoever comes to purify himself, he will get the help. How? Don't worry, it will come. As I said, higher souls, angels, the light will support you. You just need to have the will. If there's a will, there's a way. That's a challenge of these 9 days. Now, but there's another thing that I want to talk about. In the Zohar, there's a verse, but it was hidden in the Zohar about Parashat Bamidbar. In the first parasha in the book of Numbers. And it says over there in verse 10 in the book of Numbers, Hashem Elokechem yirba etchem v'inechem hayom kekochvei hashamayim larov. God, your Lord, multiply you, and today you are multiple like the stars of the heaven. And then he continues the next verse, verse 11, in chapter 1. God, the Lord of your fathers, Yosef alechem kachem elefamim, will add on you, like you, 1,000 times even more. Vivarech etchem, and will bless you. Kasher diber lechem, like he talked to you before. So, what do we learn from that? Which is one of the most amazing things. When we're talking about those days of destruction, we know that the destruction of the temple that took time from the 17th of Tammuz to the 9th of Av was initiated by one thing, when people refused to take responsibility for their own judgment and they blamed others for their own judgment. How do you call it? When you go like really far, it's called hatred. And it's called sinat chinam, hatred for no reason. What do you mean for no reason? There was no justification. When you blame somebody else, you start to hate them. And when you hate them, you mess up your life. Because that's judgment. Instead of fixing, as we said, instead of blaming other people, overcome your own judgment. And then you will know how to come to terms with that person or how to deal with it. But hating the person is not going to help anyone, especially not you, because there's nothing more poisonous for personal tikkun and professionality to act out of hatred. Nothing more destructive than that. So, when it says that these judgments, these are the judgments that destroyed the temple in Jerusalem on the 9th of Av, some 2,000 years ago. So the tikkun is to do the opposite. And what is the opposite? This is exactly what we are reading here in those verses of Moses. And the Zohar is saying as follows about it. In the Zohar of Parashat Bamidbar. And it says, Rabbi Yitzchak Patach. Rabbi Yitzchak opened. Hashem Zecharanu Yivarech et Bet Israel. God will bless the house of Israel. What does it mean? Hashem Zecharanu Yivarech, God will bless our male. These are the children of Israel that have been counted in the desert. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Holy Blessed be, Mevarech otam Mosif aleim bechol zman, and He blesses them and adds on them all the time. Boe, come and see. And that we're coming to the real point. Mi she'omer shifro shel chavero, whoever speaks about something good about his friend, about his success, about his talents, about his bliss, about his good fortune, about his successful children, or his financial gains, צריך לברך אותו ולהודות על ברכות. Has to bless that other person and to be thankful for the blessings that that person have. Which means jealousy is not an option. Jealousy is not an option. You really want your life to be good, you have to be thankful and be happy with the success of your friend. More than that. More than that. We learned that from Moses when he says to the Israelites, God made them multiply and now you're like the stars of the heaven, so many. And what does it say later on? Hashem אלוקי אבותיכם יוסף עליכם כ1,000 פעמים. God, the Lord of your fathers, will add what you have 1,000 times even more. So when you see a friend that is successful, never say, oh, I love you the way you are, never change. I wish that you never change. That's a curse, says the Zohar, because you're limiting their success. How should you say? I wish that whatever you made and whatever success you achieved, it will be only the beginning of for much more than that. What are you doing? You open for him the ways of success. What the Zohar is saying, you open it for you also. Because when you do not may find yourself thankful for somebody else's success, and you not wish him even better and more success, and you block his success by your reaction to it, you block your own success. So how do we fix the hatred for no reason from the time of the temple? Is by those days, especially when you see somebody else, if he is in pain, help them. If he's in success, support them with it. Wish them even more success. Just use active, proactive love in order to really make it better. Now, that's how you fix those negativity of this state. Now there's another thing that is very important. The name of this Shabbat. This parasha, as I said, always being read before Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, the day of the destruction. Why is it always read during this time? And also, why is it that this Shabbat is not called Shabbat Devarim, the name of the parasha, but Shabbat Chazon? Chazon means a vision. So, tonight we're getting into the month of Leo. In Hebrew, Leo is Aryeh. Aryeh has the same letters as Re'iyah. And Re'iyah means vision. Sight and vision. We know that people that are born during the month of Leo, they have better vision, which means they can see things that other people cannot see. They can lead because of that. They can teach because of that. They can tutor because of that. Because they can see things that others don't have to see, don't have the ability to see. However, they have a tendency to force it on somebody. And when you force it on somebody, we already said how that person is reacting to being forced. They shut down. You have to do it in a pleasant way. If you know what's good for somebody, you have to tell it to them in a pleasant way, because what comes from the heart goes to the heart. That means they don't just block themselves up. However, there's another thing in this Shabbat that has to do with vision. And I repeat it every year during this time, and I repeat it again because we have to remember that, and maybe we get another notch, another step in understanding that. The destruction of the temple some 2,000 years ago happened on Shabbat. That was Shabbat, and that was Shabbat Chazon, the Shabbat of reading of the Parashat Devarim. And the Talmud is mentioning something very, very important. That when the sages, the wise people that were in that generation, saw the temple going on fire, they were kind of getting condolences. They were relieved. And they said the Psalm for Asaph, Goyim came into your assets, into your home. And the sages in the Talmud and the Rabbi Ezekiel is asking, what means psalm? It's appraisal. It should be a lamentation. What happened? There were two things that happened at that moment. One, when they saw the Romans killing everybody around, and a lot of Jews were killed on that day. There were rivers of blood everywhere. Today in the excavations around the Temple Mount, we can find the physical evidence for the massacre. People were hiding in the sewage. The Romans would hunt them down in the sewage and kill them in the sewage. You find the skeletons of those people killed by the Roman spears in the sewage. Like there were huge drainage. It was not that much of a sewage. But yes, they broke the stones of the sewage to get and find them and kill those people. Thousands and thousands, some say maybe 100,000 people were murdered on that day. Massacred. Some say even more than that. So the wise people of that time, they were afraid this is the end. But then Titus, although he loved, because the building of the temple was so beautiful, the most beautiful building in the world at that time. It was all covered with gold. It was designed amazingly. The best architects worked on it. It was huge. And Titus gave an order, I want to make it my own building. Don't touch the building. But some Roman soldiers set the place on fire. And when the place was in blaze, because there was so much wood over there, cedar trees and so on, there was everything went on fire, but not everything. We learn from the Ari, he said, when they saw the Heichal, the shrine, the temple going on fire, they felt relieved. Why? The Talmud is hinting, because it's like the wrath goes on the stones and the wood and not on people. We have hope. How did they know they have hope? We have two support for that idea, making that Shabbat very, very, very powerful. One is when you learn Rabbi Zakaria's teachings, he explains that when anything has to come to this world, it has to go through 5 phases to be manifested. It's called, in Hebrew, Shenigle, which is initials of Shin is for Shoresh, the root, the light of God. The Nun comes for the word Neshama, the soul, because the Neshama, the soul, is the vessel for the light of God. Still, the soul needs to manifest itself, so it needs a body. That's the Gimel, for Guf, body. Then, you have the Lamed, for Levush. A person wants to reveal himself, he needs a garment. He needs to dress up. That's a Levush. And how do you really manifest yourself? That's the Heichal, which means the shrine, the house, the home, the physical building you live in. That's your home, that's your house. And that's also, Heichal is also the same letter as Hakli. That's your vessel to manifest your dreams or whatever. So these 5 levels, Shoresh, Neshama, Guf, Levush, Heichal, initials Shenigle, okay? Everything that comes to this physical world, they have to go through these 5 levels. So when it says in the Talmud that the Heichal was burned, we understand from the Ari that what? Only the Heichal, only the 5th layer was burnt. Only the great tzaddikim, the sages that were at that time on the Temple Mount, they saw that the Romans burned only the 5th layer. The other 4 layers, the Shoresh, Neshama, Guf, and Levush of the temple, were not destroyed. Only the wrappings. The content, the real temple, cannot be touched anymore. It is secured. It is secured. Nobody right now can desecrate it. Because whoever has the will to desecrate it cannot see the temple, cannot enter the temple, cannot be disturbed and the temple cannot be disturbed, not can be sold. It is safe. Which means every person who wants to pray in the temple today, it's still standing there. It's still standing there. And that's why when we learn how do you pray the silent prayer, you go 3 steps backwards, leaving the physical world. And then you move 3 steps forwards. If you live outside of Israel, 1 step to Israel, 1 step to Jerusalem, and 1 step to the Holy of Holies. It's written in many prayer books. If you live in Israel, 1 step to Jerusalem, 1 step to the Temple Mount, 1 step to the Holy of Holies. How can you have a step into a place that doesn't exist? It does exist. It does exist, and you can visit it 3 times a day, every time you make your prayer. You go over there. So, does it exist or it does not? If millions of Jews along the last 2,000 years pray there every day 3 times, 4 times on Shabbat and holiday, 5 times on Yom Kippur, the place exists. The place exists. But there's another thing that exists. Shabbat. Shabbat continued to exist. Even though the temple was physically, the external part of it was destroyed. And Shabbat has nothing to do with physicality. It is the feeling, it is the power, it is the energy, it's a frequency. Okay? Now, but there's another thing about it. Shabbat. Shabbat is a union between us and the Creator. It's a special union that should not be disturbed. That's why you're not busy with judgment on Shabbat. Why? Because you don't want to disturb that peace of union of Shabbat. However, here the sages are bringing another idea. There is a Talmud that says that before a person leaves home and he goes, let's say, for a journey, for, let's say, merchandise and stuff like this, abroad. In the time of the Talmud, that could take few months, even few years. How would his wife have the ability to stay faithful for him when she cannot get any mail, any messages, any phone calls, any how would she know if he's still alive? She has no idea to know. So, the Talmud is saying, the husband before he leaves, he has to have special heavy relations with his wife. God will help him. That through that husband, the power of God will come into the wife, that she will have the ability to stay there and wait faithfully till her husband comes in. Because she will believe, she'll have the hope that he's coming back. That's illogical. That's godly. God power that will come and help the husband and the wife to still be connected while he's still away. The destruction of the temple is being seen as going to an exile. It's like God is leaving us and we are away, not connected. That's called what exile is about. What is the last union? As we said, that's Shabbat. That day, the 9th of Av, was Shabbat. So say the sages. On that Shabbat, which is a union between God and the nation of Israel, He instilled in His nation that power, so we will be able to stay faithful and hopeful for 2,000 years. How do we know? We are back. How many people could believe that that will happen? Those who stayed faithful and kept their faith, stayed Jewish, and stayed on the same place, one day we will come back home to Jerusalem. By what power? That power that was instilled on that Shabbat. So that Shabbat, by these sages, is the most powerful Shabbat of the year. Because a regular Shabbat, giving you power to deal with life for the next week. And then there's another Shabbat for another week. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur is for a year. But that Shabbat Chazon, That Shabbat, that horrible Shabbat of the destruction, the 9th of Av, year 70, was a special Shabbat. The power instilled on that Shabbat was for 2,000 years. And this power is still there. We can all see that. The miracles of the return, all of these prophecies being fulfilled. So every year on that Shabbat, the Shabbat before the 9th of Av, it's Shabbat of Chazon, Shabbat of the vision. As long as you have the vision, you have hope. As long as you have hope, tikva, you have the line to connect to the light. As long as you have that line, it's not over. It's not over. Which means, whatever difficulties around you, as long as you have hope, as long as you have faith, you're winning. You're winning. This Shabbat, every year, this Shabbat is a time for us to recharge ourselves and ask and pray for hope, to never give up, to always have faith that good is better than evil, that good is eternal and darkness is temporary, that negativity and evil, they cannot last. This Shabbat is so special. In this Shabbat, we have the seeds of the Messiah. The seed of the redemption of all mankind is in this Shabbat. This is the best time to meditate, to contemplate, to pray for vision, for the power to keep the vision, for the power to find the vision, and moreover, to have the vision that the temple is there, the union is there, the connection is there, and the light is there even in the darkest moments. Even we think it is the dark, these are the darkest moments. So this Shabbat, therefore, is called Shabbat Chazon, the Shabbat of the vision, the time to connect to that vision. Thank you, and have a great week for all of us, so we can even give it and share it with others.